Welcome back to In Search of Tontonteac. Today, we're diving into a couple of theories that challenge everything you thought you knew about the so-called Age of Discovery. As I mentioned last week, I'm leaning more and more toward the idea that Columbus didn't just stumble across the New World. He was informed. And that information? It may have come through the Moorish occupation of Spain. For centuries, the Moors ruled the Iberian Peninsula, bringing education, libraries, astronomy, mathematics, and, most importantly, maps and maritime knowledge. So it's no coincidence that Columbus set sail in the same year Spain took back Granada, the last Moorish stronghold. Let's explore some additional evidence that supports the presence and influence of Moors and Muslims in the Americas long before 1492. Arab and Moorish sailors were some of the most advanced navigators of their time. One compelling theory says that Mali Empire sailors under Abu Bakr Sekou launched a massive expedition westward across the Atlantic around 1311, nearly 200 years before Columbus. Columbus himself wrote of encountering black-skinned people and gold-tipped spears in the Caribbean. The native word for gold, guanin, bears a striking resemblance to the Mandinka word ganin, an African connection that can't be ignored. He even recorded seeing a ship of Africans sailing westward, headed toward the very lands he would soon claim. Let's talk culture shock. When Spanish chronicler Bernal Díaz del Castillo witnessed Aztec women dancing, he remarked that they were muy bien vestidas, que parecían moriscas, very well dressed in their own way, and seemed like Moorish women. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The Spanish often referred to native temples as mezquitas, Spanish for mosques. Cortés himself claimed to see over 400 mosques while traveling through Anahuac, today's Texas and Mexico. Coincidence or remnants of a cultural overlap erased from the textbooks? By 1503, West African Muslims had already arrived in the New World. That same year, Hispaniola's royal governor begged Queen Isabella to halt their importation, claiming they were a scandal to the Indians. They kept escaping and stirring up resistance. On Christmas Day, 1522, a slave rebellion broke out on Hispaniola. The rebels, mostly Wolof Muslims from Senegal, were literate, organized, and fierce. Spain responded with 5 decrees over the next 50 years, banning the importation of Muslim slaves altogether. Why? Because these weren't just slaves. They were thinkers, leaders, strategists. Let's fast forward to 1527. Mustafa Zamouri, also known as Estevanico, was a Moroccan Muslim enslaved on a disastrous expedition led by Panfilo de Narvaez. The expedition failed, but Mustafa did not. He survived and roamed across Florida, the Gulf Coast, the Southwest, and Mesoamerica, eventually becoming a respected medicine man among native tribes. When Spanish explorer Cabeza de Vaca wrote his famous book, Adventures in the Unknown Interior of America, he credited their survival not to weapons or faith, but to Zamouri, the African Muslim who could speak to the native peoples and navigate unfamiliar lands. It was the Negro who talked to them all the time, de Vaca wrote. Them being the indigenous tribes, and it was Zamouri's language skills and presence that opened every door. So here's the question. Were the Moors, or at least Muslim Africans, already here? Did Columbus truly discover a new world, or was he following ancient knowledge passed down through Andalusian scholars, West African kings, and Arab cartographers? Or perhaps they gained this knowledge from the Mongols? Join me next week as we dive even deeper.